There are 24 Starborn Powers in Starfield. You can do this, and you can do this. Now let's rank them from worst to best, starting with the Gravity Wave. This allows you to knock opponents down with a gravitational push. Skyrim fans, don't rejoice. This is nothing like the power of the Dragonborn, and you're really only going to get this measly little puff of air that will knock opponents down. The range is quite short, and there's really no situation where I would want to queue this up and use it as a power. It makes it to the bottom of the list. Now, this is only at level 1. All of these powers go up to level 10, but for the purposes of this video, we're just going to cover level 1. Most of the player base will hardly even reach NG+ for the first time. Particle Beam lets you fire off a ray of cosmic energy. Powerful and terrifying would not be the words I would use to describe this attack. It's almost certainly more effective just to use your main weapon. It seems to deal a consistent amount of damage, consistently low, at rank 1. Maybe early game it's okay, but late game against powerful tanky opponents, I would call it a little better than useless. Precognition allows you to peer into the future and see what dialogue and actions someone will make. You can use this to see what dialogue responses NPCs will say when talking to them. It doesn't help during persuasion attempts, so part of me wonders what the point of this one really is. It may be helpful during some faction quest lines to see what things might be coming down the pipe, but I had already beat all the faction quests by the time I got this power. It just seems like a pain to cast this one every time you go into dialogue, which, let's face it, in Starfield is every few minutes. Earthbound makes the gravity wherever you are the same as Earth's. This is a cool power to have, albeit maybe not that useful. Casting it in a 0G environment might be the best use for it that I could think of, or maybe on planets with high gravity that can be slowing you down, such as around Aquila City or during the Red Mile run. It's unique and kind of cool, but really, it's not that useful. Alien Reanimation. This brings a dead alien nearby back to life to fight for you. The drawbacks of this one are the alien already has to be dead, and it has to be an alien, no humans. Now this ranks so low because there is another power called Inner Demon that is stronger than Alien Reanimation, and that makes this one redundant. Elemental Pool harvests all nearby resources for you. Sounds pretty cool. It's a handy way to harvest elements that are close by and saves time by not using your cutter, especially more rare resources that take longer for your cutter to harvest. At the end of the day though, with outposts set up to bring in huge amounts of resources, most players aren't out mining by hand anyways. Or you could simply go buy your resources 20 at a time at a shop. This is a cool power, but it's really not that useful. Grav Dash lets you dash forward and boost your damage at the same time. For melee characters, this could be a really cool skill, although I will say at rank 1, the distance you actually rush forward is very disappointing. Again, it gets better as you rank up, but we're not going to cover that in this video. Eternal Harvest instantly brings back any plants around you. Upon casting, any plants or ingredients you harvested respawn, allowing you to harvest them again. If you're an alchemist build or do a lot of harvesting, this may be for you. Parallel Self summons a copy of yourself to help you fight. This version of you will spawn with whatever weapon you're using. It does seem to have a low HP pool, and like your companion, it's really not the best combat partner. The AI just doesn't help you out much here. At low levels, this could be decent fodder, but at higher levels it's basically worthless, and your alternate you will mostly get one-tapped. Inner Demon. Like Alien Reanimation, it creates a copy, this time of an enemy target, and it attacks them. This is actually a really good power to have. It's great for distracting enemies and taking some fire away from you. The biggest problem is at rank 1 it doesn't last very long, but if you're in a hard fight against a tough opponent, you can make an exact copy of them to help you out, even Terramorphs or other big boss type fights. Supernova creates a large explosion that deals intense damage. It's a cool attack that can be useful if you're getting swarmed by a lot of enemies. The biggest problem with it is that it costs 45 power to use, meaning you'll likely only get to use it once during a fight, unless you're running a quantum essence at the same time. The damage it does is fixed, and it's really not that high. On top of that, the range isn't far, so against range opponents, it's not that great. Moonform. I thought I hated this one until I thought about it a little more. This form gives you impressive resistance to all damage types for a time. The catch is you can't move. Personally, I like to run, jump, and flail around when in combat, but Moon form turns you into a gargoyle. You're basically invincible during that time though. it could have real applications in the game. I could see it being useful if you're in a situation where you have no cover. You could use this and hopefully gun your enemies down before it wears off. Life Forced drains the life from enemies and it heals you. This effect damages enemies and transfers their health to you. It's not a ton of HP, and on higher level enemies you couldn't rely on this to take them out, but it does help keep your HP pool topped off. You can actually cast it on companions too, giving your companions some use during a fight. I think this one would be really amazing if you got it early game, where you don't have a lot of med packs. After a fight, simply cast it on your companion and voila. Create Vacuum stops all nearby enemies from being able to breathe temporarily. This is another area of effect attack and seems straight up strong against the right enemies. Obviously, robots will not be affected by this one. Against characters with low HP pools, it's meah, but against large HP pool opponents, it takes a lot of damage away over time if they stay in its area of effect. Pretty strong. Reactive Shield boosts your damage resistance for a time and reflects some range attacks back to your enemies. In theory, this one should be very, very strong, and I did use it during some tough fights. I think it helped a bit, but you're still going to take quite a bit of damage. You're definitely not invincible. It does reflect projectiles back to enemies, which is cool, but it's not going to help you against melee attacks either. Sunless Space slings a cold ball to freeze nearby enemies. Against single opponents, I like this power a lot. Freezing a baddie, allowing you to escape and heal or close the distance and pummel them, is really, really good. It doesn't deal any damage to your opponent while they're frozen, but it has a long effect time, and it takes even more time for them to get up after. So it's super strong. It costs 35 power. With how long it takes your enemy out of the fight for, you'll likely be able to cast it again and again. Solar Flare blasts enemies and sets them on fire. It took me a long time to realize how powerful this one really is, especially on enemies with big health pools. It does damage over time after hitting them, and it can drain a significant amount of HP away pretty quickly. I find it really good against Starborn Guardians. Lower HP enemies, it's a little less useful, but it only costs 25 power, so you can spam it out. Gravity Well pulls in nearby foes and crushes them. This is another one of those area effect attacks that sucks your enemies into one spot. It deals percentage damage to their health while they're stuck in the field, and you can suck multiple bad guys into the same area. From my testing, it seems to have good range as well, so you can throw it across a room. It does travel slow, so you might want to aim for the floor around bad guys or a nearby wall, but overall a really good power. Sense Star Stuff lets you detect any life near you. During stealth missions and sneaky attacks on bases, this one is super fun and very useful. The range at rank 1 also seems to be far enough to keep it relevant. To make things even better, its cost to cast is only 15, so you could use it in conjunction with other skills like the one we're gonna talk about next. Maybe it's not as powerful as the last 3, but as a stealth character goes, I love the application of this one. Not to mention, combat in Starfield really isn't that hard, so when it comes down to it, I just want more fun and immersiveness, and Sense Star Stuff really gets me there. Void Form. Make yourself invisible for a time. This one has so many fun uses, just like the last one, and they kind of go together in stealth missions. It makes it pretty high on the list, and if you haven't done the Ryujin tech missions, you're in for a real treat if you have this one. You can stay in stealth mode while sprinting around, although you may be detected. However, if you try to pickpocket or pick up an item, it goes away. Creator's Peace stops enemies from fighting temporarily and disarms them. With this one, enemies will drop their guns and in most cases start running away, although some will attack you with fists. It has a pretty good area of effect here at rank 1, and when pirating a ship, this one is a lot of fun and really good. Worth noting, Starborn Guardians will not drop their weapons. Phased Time slows down everything around you temporarily, and as combat goes, it's one of the most useful in the game, allowing you to deal a ton of damage or just run away if things aren't going your way. You can also do some pretty wacky stuff. Fun factor over 9,000, and in terms of usefulness, top 3. Anti-Gravity Field creates a force field that paralyzes enemies for a time. Now this is the first power you gain in the main questline, and honestly, it's still one of the best throughout the whole game. It has a large area of effect, can take multiple enemies out of the fight, and just has one of the coolest vibes. Starfield has great physics animations, and there's nothing more satisfying than just watching your bad guys float helplessly around. And number 1 in my book is personal atmosphere. Hands down, this is the most useful power in the game. It gives you unlimited oxygen. As your CO2 bar creeps up, use this one and just keep on sprinting. But wait, there's more. Arguably the best part is you can almost use it for unlimited carry capacity. You could load up all of your crafting materials, be over encumbered, and move from one place to another, making this the most handy Starborn power in the game. I would definitely recommend hotkeying it. If you're missing some powers from this list, here is an additional video that will help you locate all 24 of them. If you found this video to be helpful, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more content in the future. This is Derka signing off. I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.